There.
Oh. No, I definitely don't want to do that.
Okay, looks like
Good to go.
yes, sir. We're streaming.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead then and call the meeting for the Crittenden County Project Development Board to order for July 13th. For those of us that are on virtually, thank you for joining. And I think we've got one more to be here in the room that's on her way, but she'll make it eventually. Guys, bear with me because I'm taking minutes and trying to run the meeting. Hey, Vic. So I will begin by calling the roll. Judge Rogers.
Here.
Judge Leonard.
Here.
Melissa.
Here.
Becky Johnson.
Yes.
Larry Duval. Here. So. Have everyone in attendance, so there's a member of the PDB board. And then also with us are from AOC, Mark, right, Bannister, Corky, Sandra, Chris Jones with Sherman Carter Barnhart. Chris, is Jeff still on?
I think Jeff got off.
Okay, all right. I saw him. And then also with us, with the public is our sheriff, Evan Head. So visiting with us for the meeting. So, is there anyone else on what I've missed? Okay. First item of business is to review and approve our meeting minutes from our regular meeting of May 2nd. And hopefully everybody was able to get the copy that I forwarded in the announcement for this meeting. And if you've had a chance to review those minutes, have a motion. Judge Rogers, second by Becky. Approved. Any corrections, amendments? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to review and approve the executive committee meeting minutes, and Corky was good enough to send those out today. We've got a copy for everybody that's here. Do I have a motion regarding those minutes? Motion by Judge Rogers to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Becky. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carried. All right, first item of, next item of business is the progress update from our architect. And Chris, you want to handle that?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're in a holding pattern waiting for the AOC to authorize us to proceed with the bidding. The bid package is essentially ready. We can't, there are a few pieces we can't do until we're authorized to finalize the bid package. We're reviewing or AOC's reviewing the front end specs, and we'll make any changes before it goes out. Then on the sort of facilities or the abatement package, Bonbach Bunkhauser is was reducing. Sorry for the bad connection. They'll produce a bid package when they have authorization from AOC, and they'll coordinate. That'll be coordinated with the general contractor.
Or what,
The general contractor will have to coordinate with that before the building's knocked down.
Yeah, well, maybe you can hear me better. So I'll fill in for what Chris is. So basically, once we move everybody out of the building, okay, so we'll have to do some abatement work before they can do demolition. The demolition's part of the overall project. So this is like a step in between. So if it was a building that we were already out of, normally if we weren't going back in the same spot, we would already have this work done. What happens is the Lineback Funkhauser, I believe, did the asbestos survey. There's some asbestos, I believe, in the boiler flue. There's some white looking putty stuff that they used that was asbestos containing, that was an insulation they used on piping elbows for the hydronic pipe. That's got to be abated. And I believe they also found that the asbestos, there's asbestos material, I believe it could be an insulation layer that was found in the entire roof. So what's going to have to happen is once we go to abate this stuff, we'll probably have to get the utilities turned off after we moved out, make sure the electric's off in the building, because once they take the roof off, we'll have rain coming in the building at that point. So we've had a call with Jeff basically talking about how we're going to coordinate that, because the demo contractor will want to have the roof abated before he goes in to demolish the building. Also, the demolition contractor, I believe, will probably have to make some wherever the flue vent is for the boilers comes up through the building. I think they're going to have to make that accessible for the abatement guys to be able to get in there to get that pipe out. So we've had some minor discussions on how that's going to work in the contract language. So we believe we've got that resolved after discussion. So Lineback Funkhauser is going to have to come up with like a scope of work for the abatement. I believe in the prior quote, Jeff had them give us a price to come up with that scope of work. So we've been trying to work about, how much is this going to cost and what's our means and methods as far as from a procurement standpoint. So it depends on the cost as how we might have to go about getting the work completed. If it's something substantial, we might have to bid it out. I'm not sure. That's something we're trying to work through right now. So we got that report back maybe, what do you think, Corky, a couple of weeks ago? And so that's the one little glitch, is because of us still being in a building that's going to cause a little bit of time on that. And one other thing that we've had to work through with Sherman Carter Barnhart that we don't have quite resolved, they're waiting on us is basically since we're bidding this as a general contractor project, there's some slight differences as far as direct owner purchase materials. And so there's some forms that we're developing, they're waiting on us for, to be able to give the general contractors clear direction on owner purchase materials. And we're doing that as the materials they'll turn in as far as their bid, that will be like, okay, these are stuff that we're going to do through purchases by the county that will save us the 6% on the sales tax. So that's pretty much standard procedure on all the construction manager jobs we do to basically leverage the savings to be able to, of course, cash flow the job and whatnot. So we just want to make sure we have all of our bases covered, since this is a general contractor job, since it's usually normally a lump sum bid job versus bid package under construction manager, where the individual subcontractors turn that in by bid package. So we've trying to make sure our language is correct to basically capture that scenario, which is different than the more common CM job. So does that help answer any questions on, Chris, did I capture most all of that?
Yeah, I think so. You can hear me again, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I have experience around the corner, or not too far from the courthouse, on roofing with asbestos in it.
Yep.
And essentially it wasn't a big deal, but they cut the roof up and put it in a lawn dumpster, and it had to go to a certified landfill, and it was not horrifically expensive, but you know, it needs to be accounted for. The pipe elbows and things typically are not a big deal. I mean, there'll be some
Yeah.
costs, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, that's small items. The roof, I just know there's some, you know, it's quite a bit of material. And I did call the Russell, I can't remember his last name. He was the person that did the asbestos survey. I did call him on the phone and have a discussion with him about, you know, what all was involved with all that based on what he had on his report. And so some of that, after I had read through that and discussed with Russell, I kind of had gone back and talked to Jeff about, you know, here's what Russell's telling me, because I haven't directly had to abate a roof prior to demolishing. So I wasn't super clear on exactly how we needed to handle that.
So I can add some clarity to that too. It depends on what it costs for the abatement. I talked with Judge Newcomb the other day on the phone. Since the abatement to actually remove the asbestos materials will not go through Jeff's or Sherman Carter Barnhart's contract or the general contractor, that'll be contracted directly with the county. And the county's small purchase authority is $40,000, if I heard you correctly. So as long as we can get a price on it and some fair, you know, price submissions for 40,000 or less, we'll be able to just vote on what we want as a PDB and move on with it and get it coordinated. However, if it's over $40,000, then we'll have to follow the county's procurement guide as far as what we have to do for a public bid, and that'll take whatever time it takes.
Okay. That makes sense. I think we could be pushing up against that $40,000 just from this last project that I have been working on. And but I mean, I think we kind of see what that, I suggest we see what that is about. You know, we're just on a holding pattern in general until, you know, we get the go ahead.
Yeah, and I believe also on the city rental agreement, I believe that got sent out, was getting sent out for signatures, right? Sandy, Danny got that to you, looked like later on today.
Yeah, that's correct. We do have a rental agreement. Danny signed off on it. It is with the city. And as far as I know, things are still a go for the move on Monday to move the clerk and the courtroom, unless, you know, something happens between now and tomorrow. But the move is a go, and the rental agreement, I think, is agreeable to everyone. So it shouldn't be a problem with the city signing off on it and getting that right back to me.
Are you sending that on to them tomorrow?
No, I sent it to them today. I sent it to Diane today. Yes. So hopefully we can have it back tomorrow.
That's wonderful. I appreciate you getting right on that.
Thank you.
I was over there Tuesday just making friends, touching base and getting a feel for it. And I was going to make sure the signature had my cell. And that was the one little thing I think got lost in the, you know, train of everybody had to sign the latest version, and now that's done. They're not going to move the permanent jazz equipment until like after. We'll have a temporary jazz set up that'll record, but we'll be able to start court that next Monday. So next week, no court, and then court.
In addition, we haven't worked out the parking, but I did speak with the bank, and they've given us some options. We just have to review that and make a decision on how we want to proceed on it.
And I know I spoke with Diane earlier today as well, and she said AT&T was actually there. I'm pretty sure she told me that they were there today, starting to hook up the AT&T phone line portions, what were required. So it sounds like everything's moving along with that.
Yes, I am so thrilled. Start working out.
And I know Melissa's group has been working hard trying to get all her things moved because I was actually over there in their new space the other day helping move a desk, so.
Yeah, you can get my name on that door. That'll be
All right.
good.
Anybody have any questions for Chris regarding the architectural update? Okay, the next item of business was a financing update from RJ. RJ was intending to be on the meeting, but he had another commitment. He did send me a notification, and Corky, you may know more about it than I do. I can read what he sent, and then if you've got further information or details, you can certainly chime in.
I talked to him on the phone.
Yeah.
And his summary explanation was that we've lost a little ground, but not enough to prevent us from going out to bid. And things were still close enough that if we can get the other details worked out, that we've still got a, good chance to make it work. But I haven't studied what he sent yet.
Okay, so basically you just said rates are up slightly from May, and those rate increases have reduced the project by $750,000, resulting in a project funds of approximately $19,050,000. But he still anticipates earning about $825,000 on investments for a total project of just under $20 million, which I think fits within the design build estimates at this point.
RJ's doing everything on 25 years, isn't he? Or do you know?
I think it was 25, yeah.
Okay.
I think he was made aware it was 25 years. So.
Okay.
I think that's good news. I think that means hopefully you can get a bid that reflects the amount of money that was available or anticipated to be available anyway, since they've moved it to a 25-year project. Hopefully we can go.
Yeah. But the only thing that's tricky that's come up is the asbestos in the roof. I don't know that we foresaw that, especially, not to say the building's super new, but I mean, it's not that old of a building. So that was a maybe on that. So that's the only thing I think that could trip us up a little bit on getting that taken care of.
Let me ask Chris another question on that. You said that Leinbach Funkhauser was waiting on us to generate a price to administer the solicited quotes.
Jeff sent me an email about that.
So what we need from them is a proposal, what they would cost to.
I think we have it. I think Jeff went ahead and have it to try to ask this not delay.
Yeah.
Am I right there, Chris?
Yeah, and it sounds like in Jeff's email, it says that there are a couple of questions that have to be answered. And I assume they're about the proposal. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happened? Was when I had just for the board to know, what happened was when we got the information from Mac Russell, who did the survey for Leinbach Funkhauser. We were talking about potentially whether we could put some of this abatement work in the general contractor's scope and have them coordinate, and that way it would save us some of this stuff. And we ultimately basically what it come down to is Sherman Carter Barnhart didn't want to put it in there because that's not something that they really want to be liable for. Or it's normally they don't have the expertise to put that in there. So they would basically wanted to have that handled outside of the general contractor bid package stuff, because that's basically stuff they have to get together. So Jeff's got that back to us and say, hey, here's how we prefer to handle it because of that. And basically we need to get the Leinbach Funkhauser going on, coming up with a scope of work if we think it's going to be substantial amount of money. But we haven't gone through the step on if we could get pricing just to see how much it would be. Chris, do you know how, based on the size of this?
I'm talking about the price that Leinbach Funkhauser,
He's already gotten a price, I believe, to save a step in case he basically, when you had him price the survey, he says, if we have to do bid documents, can you give me that price as well? I'm pretty
Okay.
sure,
Or was
I
that
could be wrong, but I'm pretty
included?
sure,
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it was a separate line in the quote. Chris, does that sound right?
Sounds right, but I have not seen the quote.
I believe we already have the price because Jeff was
Okay.
trying to save a step in case we needed it.
all right.
I
just
could be
wanted to
wrong,
see
but I think we
Hey,
got it.
If there's anything the PDB needs to vote on, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So our next thing we need to probably
Typically,
focus on
the way
is once we
it's-
get out of the building is being able to get this stuff abated. And then hopefully we can, if there's no hiccups, we can be doing some abatement whilst potentially everything's out the bid.
My word of advice is that if you're the abatement crew ends up wearing, Tyvek suits, and if you can leave the power on while they're doing the inside work,
Yeah.
it's pretty beneficial to them. They can at least, there's typically some air scrubbers and some other stuff that need to be running, but typically they're in the last building I did that had a bunch of asbestos in it. It was sort of a written report and a written recommendation. There weren't a lot of plans, so it has not been very involved what the asbestos contractors had to do. But yeah, that's all I have on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can coordinate the power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's no problem. And then, like I said, Russell had talked about some things that probably had to be coordinated with the demo guys. So there's some coordination going on there with how all that gets handled.
Yeah.
And Jeff thought it was no problem for us to add the coordination language in the basically the main bid package for the GC.
Yeah, and with the roof, that's typically how I've seen it done is the abatement contractor and the demolition contractor work together. The last one I did, they just cut the roof into chunks and took it away, but it required both contractors to be on site.
Okay.
They cut it into the biggest pieces they could get off the roof and they took it away, but the abatement contractor essentially logged it, made sure everyone was following the right procedure, safety procedures.
Yeah, and then there's only certain landfills that take asbestos, right, Chris? So he had to basically take it to one that would accept the materials. And then usually they have to document that they did that properly.
Yeah. There's a document that gets filled out when it goes into the truck, and then a document that the landfill deals with, and it has to go to a certified landfill, and the ones that are close are either Owensboro, there's one in White Plains, and one in Calvert City. So it'll get trucked to there and documented on the other end.
Yeah, so realistically, we could see. So realistically, Chris, we could possibly get some guys and see what the pricing would be and see if it's high enough where we got an advertisement and get prices back versus just getting quotes. So
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And 3 contractors may be hard in this part of the world.
Okay.
There's two good ones that I deal with in my past experience, but I'll think about if there's a third.
I did have one guy, and I don't know about the roof stuff, but I did have a guy that the finance cabinet used a lot that was down in Bowling Green that he did a lot of abatement work for them. And it was AAA remediation. They were in Scottsville.
Okay.
So I assume that he's still working. He was an older gentleman, but he did a lot of work for finance cabinet, and I have his contact for information. So I can call him if needed.
Okay. I've typically used in the past IMAC out of Calvert City. And there's one more trying to remember who it is. There's one more that I've used in the past, but that are relatively close.
Okay.
Yeah,
And Finance Cabinet may have a list. I can call my contact there and see if they got a list of those guys, especially for if we need some more possibilities out west.
okay. I typically deal with IMAC at MSU. Because he's, so yeah, there should be, we should be able to come up with another one.
Okay.
All right. But
Uh,
I've been through this before, so I know where the pitfalls are. And the other one that before demolition can happen on a building, we have to give, that has asbestos in it, we have to give the EPA 10 business days notification.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get a little upset if you don't do that.
Yeah.
So,
And usually the demo guy takes care of that, correct? Am I right?
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. I believe that's usually their responsibility.
Yeah. Sometimes everybody said, it turns into everyone thought the next person was doing it. So we just to make sure somebody's doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put number 9. What's next on the agenda?
Chris, would that be something you'd want to write into the scope of work documentation or whatever, the bid document, whatever happens there?
Yeah. Or if there's a pre-bid meeting, we explain, we make sure that somebody's on board for it in the pre-bid meeting. That might be the best.
Okay.
The best place, because it's whoever has the best relationship with the EPA air office is who you want talking to them.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Planning, once everyone's out of the building, to be prepared for asbestos abatement to begin, and simultaneously the bids go out for the project. Is that what I'm hearing?
Say that one more time. We didn't catch all that.
That's fine. I'm just trying to get the next steps in my head clear. So once we're all out of the building, the county and the court, then asbestos, we are hoping that will be all ready to go, because hopefully we'll be under 40,000 and the project can be approved and get started. At the same time, bids will go out.
Yeah. So what happens is they're waiting on, there's some different AOC forms for general contractor job versus, like I said, construction manager. So there's a couple that they're supposed to be finalizing for the DPO. So once they have that, we'll give that to Chris and them. They'll put that in their front end documents. And then we have one particular person for AOC that works in our legal office. He double checks and makes sure everything's okay there. If there's anything, minor things that have to be changed, we'll get back with Sherman Connor, Barnhart, and have those minor changes made. And at that point, we should be ready to go out to bid. And we could basically hold that or wait on, depending on if we run into a glitch with the abatement work, but I don't anticipate that. But there's a possibility there, depending on if we run any roadblocks on getting the abatement in contract and taken care of. Otherwise, if it looks like it's smooth sailing on that, then we would probably want to go ahead and try to get it out to bid. That way we can get our bids in. We working on getting the general contractor under contract. It looks like we're in budget. Then we'll be working on selling bonds. All that kind of goes on at the same time while we're getting a general contract in place. There's a couple different moving parts there. It goes on with all that, and realistically, I think it takes about 45 to 60 days to get the bond sold, that finalized, the proceeds dispersed. A couple different things go on there. And usually all that's in place and ready to go by the time we're ready to pay our first payment to the contractor. So a lot of times when they're under contract, that's not even completely finalized, but usually it's almost there. There's some timing that goes on with all that. Does that give you anybody answer, Judge Rogers, or?
No, Oh, that's lovely. I just was trying to get, like I said, it's not my wheelhouse. I appreciate it. It just helps keep me, when the public asks about, what next steps and things like that. No, that's, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it's, hopefully we'll get good bids. If it goes out to bid, I mean, I'll be telling all our construction managers that do construction management. A lot of them, most of them will do general contractor jobs. We'll say, hey, we got this job out. When we advertise for a bid, we'll put it on that Lemon Imaging website. I mean, almost every public job in the state is on that website. I mean, there's just 30, 20, 30, 40, 50 big jobs are on there at a time, whether it's a waterline infrastructure improvement at some county, stuff for UK ends up being on there, all the school work. So the main website, well, all the big contractors, they ought to get auto-generated emails that this project comes out every day. They look at it, they'll say, hey, Crittenden County Courthouse project, and they'll be, if it's a general contractor, they'll be reaching out to the mechanical subcontractors and all those various people's trying to get pricing from them. Hey, can you look at this job? I want to try to bid it. So, that's what'll go on once we get it out the door on that Lemon Imaging plan room website. So that's the key. We are able to get it out on there. We'll have a pre-construction meeting down there, probably on site, maybe 2 weeks after we get it out to bid. Hopefully, that'll be on site. And so usually if there's general contractors there and their subcontractors, they'll meet, they'll want to go through the building. They'll ask questions about the plans to Shermer, Carter, Barnhart. If anything doesn't make sense to them or not clear, they got a question. Well, what about this scenario? We'll discuss all that at the pre-bid meeting. And then it'll get official response from Shermer, Carter, Barnhart to any questions that'll end up being an addendum to the bid documents if there's some changes they need to add. So there's a lot of different things that go on kind of when this all happens.
Very interesting.
All right. Well, that takes us bid notice update. I think we've covered that extensively, unless somebody has something else to add. And then the facility abatement update, I think we've covered that extensively, unless somebody has something else to add. All right. Takes us up to item number 9 and the court security officer needs for the temporary space areas. And I think that's maybe why the sheriff is here, but just trying to just trying to get a feel for what that's going to look like, what's needed versus what we have available to provide, I guess.
Okay. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on that.
Let me ask, has that been discussed in the temporary fit up? And Sandy, are you still with us?
Yeah, it is one of the terms in the rental agreement that the ALC will work with the sheriff's office to provide security on court days and non-court days.
And I believe
Maybe, our sheriff is here and he hasn't heard anything from AOC yet. And I think he would like to start some at least conversations as soon as possible, so he knows what his role is.
Yeah, so I think the issue is he has no court security help, and we're within a week of this temporary space deal and court taking place there, and nobody said anything to him about needing court security.
so. What court security did y'all have any court security at the existing courthouse?
We have our deputies, our county deputies. We don't have otherwise designated. One, he has one now designated.
He doesn't go to training until September or October, depending on when they can get him in.
Okay. Because usually, a lot of times, like if it was in a new courthouse, they would basically, I could be wrong on this, but I think I'm correct. I'm not sure. Usually when they're getting ready to do a new courthouse, I think our courts people usually get with the sheriff and they identify how many people they need. And then I think the chief circuit judge writes an order, I guess, and sends it requesting so much staff for that, but I'm not positive how that works.
We need to get Darren. We need to get our.
Yeah, Danny knows that. Danny knows that right off the top of the head. I haven't had to really directly deal with that exactly, but I can find out for sure.
I just got maybe where, I would be, that's my question.
Full-time, yeah.
And I think that security is not for them. I do like that stuff to do that.
What is the,
What's the reasoning for non-court days? We're confused about that, number one, and number two, we don't have the staff to do it.
The city's requested that, I believe.
For what reason?
Basically, I believe because they didn't want to have to tell people, they didn't want to have to dedicate somebody there to possibly answer a question about court. And so they wanted to have a court person there full time to answer any questions. I believe it's Sandy. Does that sound correct?
Yes, yes, that's correct.
I guess, they thought that was going to be an issue, having to deal with the public on, answering any questions related to court. So they wanted somebody there to be able to answer questions about court 5 days a week.
Can we put a circuit clerk in there?
Yeah, right. No, I think it's ridiculous to have court security officers sitting there doing absolutely nothing when we don't have court now. We don't have people wandering into the courthouse or be signage if they have questions to please report to the circuit clerk's office with our phone number if they're not sure where to find us at.
Yeah, I believe the city thought it was going to be a burden to them. Just
What about
that was my understanding, but I wasn't in that, specific conversation, but I think that was a concern by the city.
What can do to help is, you guys work with Jason Kirk a lot, right?
He's our designated, I guess, AOC
Yeah.
contact for court security. When I was told to get prepared for this project, my concern was getting my office ready to move, making sure that all of my records and everything was ready and that every one of their departments with AOC would be contacting the other agencies we would be dealing with. So that's why I didn't reach out to anybody. I've never been through this
You're
before.
fine.
And I will say this right now, I'm going to try to make it through next week, but there should be a better organized system to getting all this set up, that everyone either has a meeting in the beginning that says, okay, we're moving to this temporary location and you need to do X, Y, and Z. And let's make sure all that's done, because we thought we had everything worked out until this week. And with Sandy and I have been on the phone, we're trying to get things worked out. No one seems to know about the Javs equipment. No one seems to know about this or that. And when you think you have it all ready to go, and then it all seems to fall apart, but emails were circulating with incorrect information. And so there's my piece. I'm sorry, but I'm just ready to get through this.
Well, Melissa, you can expect hiccups anytime you try to coordinate a move as big as this. There's always going to be some issues. And I mean, I think we've worked through them very well, especially with all the roadblocks that we've come across. So yes, we can improve, in the future. It's things like this that helps us to improve in the future. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay. Well, like I said, if there was something to help another clerk later on, I'm sure that clerk would greatly appreciate it.
what does the lease say about court security for the building?
It says the ALC will work with the Crittenden County Sheriff's Office to ensure security is in place on court and non-court days.
Okay, so it just says we'll work with?
Yes, yes.
Then you gotta work, you just need to be working on
Okay,
it.
so y'all are working with one another now, and he's saying it's not capable of being achieved, so that's the workout. That's easy enough.
And I don't mind, I'm available tomorrow as well. We can get Jason on the phone and go over with Diane and have this conversation with the persons that will actually be in the room that are affected and see what we work through. And I'd like to see a copy of the lease, please.
Okay, I can send it to
And
you.
then we're gonna have to have that conversation with Jason as soon as possible tomorrow. I'm available and we can do that. And Diane, I'm trying to get her on the phone. I was telling that she's available and we'll see what their expectations. She's fairly new. I just met her myself. But we need to make sure they appreciate your situation until you can be fully staffed and what the plan is. Because I mean, we have to work through this. It's part of the lease and definitely we need to make sure security is ready for, you got a week and a half, I mean, week and a half. Well, I feel like we need to have that meeting with
What does that mean, security? I mean, is that just somebody
There's a lot of work
standing
that will,
at
like,
the
I might
door,
have to be
sitting
able
at a
to-
chair by the door? Who is that exactly?
Just availability.
Would-
If you
Availability,
needed them.
Could security be a sign on the door that says go across Main Street to whatever address Melissa's gonna be in?
Yes. There now.
Or any
Jason
questions to
Kirk
be
is the
answered?
Western Kentucky guy.
I think
They've done the reports and everything. They're
That
on there.
makes more sense than setting someone just sitting there and
That's-
that you do not have anybody to sit there.
Okay,
I don't have.
Let me ask a question. This is outside my area here, but Sheriff, can you provide at least the same coverage at the new location as you were at the courthouse?
on court days, yes.
On court days.
On court days, understood. All right, so we're not taking any backward step as far as the essential coverage. We just need to talk about where to get the staff and everything for the additional coverage that's been requested.
Yeah, and I guess I'm confused about, I mean, you've got a city police department in the same building. I don't understand how much more security you could have than that.
Yeah, I don't understand either. I don't know the background to it. But we'll get the right people on it tomorrow. If for some reason they haven't been involved, we'll get that corrected and make sure that they know it's a top priority to,
Just
Work with
Newcomb, what all
Yeah.
city functions go on there during the day, like during the week? You know, like who else, I don't know who all's in there and all that type of stuff. I guess,
There's not,
Well,
there's
you've
6
got-
people that work there.
Yeah, you've got,
Direct
I
court
mean,
is also meeting there.
they're accepting water bill payments, water and sewer bill payments, or, you know, the city treasurer's in there,
The
the
school still has a therapist that goes there
city administrator,
because they've been utilizing space. They don't have
just,
space. They
just
should be out by
general
themselves.
city government administration work.
okay,
Uh,
I just, I mean, I,
That's like what jurisdiction sheriff's office would have in a city hall on a non-court day.
Again, I mean, you all maybe need to meet
I mean,
and
that's, I don't know, I mean,
with AOC. AOC
I'm
needs,
just on the board, I'm just.
I don't
but I'm
know,
all
who's
here.
who's representing, okay, so the county, the sheriff, county attorney, but he's also city attorney.
these requests are coming through BART, I believe, Judge Rogers.
Well, he's
Right.
also a county attorney, so now I think he's conflicted because whose
Yeah.
interest is he representing when we talk about does the county have jurisdiction to cover
And that's
non-court
what I
days?
told him before he quit.
But that, Evan deserves to have someone negotiating the clarity of the terms for purposes of his jurisdiction on non-court days, because if something were to happen, he's not going to be able to be the arresting officer, generally speaking. It's not his jurisdiction. City Hall is in city police, and actually the city police station is connected to City Hall, which is great, because then we have.
Or the same building, it's all under the same roof, the city police department is under the same roof as city hall and the facilities that are going to be used for the temporary courthouse.
Same office.
So I'm not defending the request to have security there on non-court days, but I believe if, then in the early part of the discussion, that was just a condition that the city insisted on.
Regardless, I don't want this to make this be why we get a termination letter of our lease. We need to get in front of this to make sure the city didn't mean that, or if they did mean that, there's clarity on what it means.
And I believe Judge Rogers, it had to do with somebody being there to answer questions to the public. But I could be wrong. Sandy, am I
I think
correct?
that's
That was
right.
it. They did not want to have the city staff having to say, go over here to the clerk's office or handle those type of questions. They wanted to have us have somebody
Let me
sitting
ask
there.
this thing, can AOC meet the term of that lease by providing someone else that's more like designated info person rather than the deputy having to go through hiring
I-
for security?
I can ask that question.
Because
Let me
to
see if I can,
hire another court security is gonna be quite a lot of paperwork and training. If it's just like a receptionist, that wouldn't meet the need. If that's what the need.
yeah,
I agree, but we probably can't find out tonight.
AOC will reimburse us.
Yeah.
After for over the 99 hours, but what have more than just one.
We need an AOC receptionist. Give them a headset.
I don't know.
I'd apply.
I'm just trying to talk through the problem, because like I said, it's very, I think, it's not good vibes to go in and already have an issue.
Yeah,
I mean,
we had a meeting canceled tomorrow at 10 in the morning. Let me get with Danny in the morning on this and we'll get back with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Well, then let's not go there till we get that back from them. But we do need to talk to Diane regardless, because I'd like to know if we're comfortable and start that first thing. I think my focus is on it.
And I think the point of that was just to get ahead of it and make sure everybody understood. No one had said anything to the sheriff at all yet at this point.
Okay.
And that is another reason why a department head, security, or whoever was supposed to reach out to them should have made sure that they did that. I mean, all the players need to talk to who they needed to talk to.
So the sheriff doesn't need to be concerned and stressing over court security for City Hall right now, other than as he does now for court days,
Okay.
correct?
You're asking, right?
Yes.
I would say that if the sheriff can cover the court like he has been, and then we'll work this out as quick as we can.
Yeah, I may
If
have to
they
have,
can maintain the insistence that we have somebody there,
I mean,
we'll
That's
figure it
his
out.
plan. So
we'll
that's
probably
his-
try to call Bart tomorrow realistically and talk through that with him.
We'll have to email him. He's in Italy.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. Anything else? Sandy, I think you've already given a good update on the temporary space. Is that correct? Do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else to add unless somebody has a question.
No, I think we're good. Anyone have any other business? Our next regular meeting will be August 1st at 4:30. As you can see, I've put site to be determined because I don't know what's going to be available, so.
So how are you all doing moving in? Are you getting ready to move into your new place?
I was going remote with him.
Chris, you want to answer that question probably more diplomatically than what my temperament
Well,
is right now?
I didn't want to extend the meeting, any longer. I'm just curious how it was going.
It's going.
You had a positive update recently, though.
Yeah, but then all week I've been out there and nobody's been there working. So
Never mind,
I
let's
don't
not
know how
talk
you're
about
gonna
it.
get done by the 28th.
Maybe
when
we
you don't have
can
anybody
pull your
working.
roof off and
I'm getting ready to pull it off. Anyway, we'll figure out where we'll meet between now and August 1st. Do you have a motion to adjourn? Second by Becky. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
And then we'll transfer back to the- If there,